Chasing Justice, in loving memory of Saniya Nicholson, June 23, 2018. Presenting Kimberly F. Brown and Kimberly Hurd of the Black Women Commission of Cuyahoga County. Today, Kimberly Hurd and Kimberly Brown work towards memorializing little Saniya. Being a victim of gun violence in the city of Cleveland, we want something that will help us remember her.
Well, this is Kimberly F. Brown again, the president of the Black Women Commission of Cuyahoga County and the publisher of the Brown Report newspaper. And this is Kimberly Hurd.
Well, ladies, why are we here today?
Well, we're here because this is where it all started for the Black Women Commission of Cuyahoga County. We actually came into effect in June of 2018. But July of 2018, we were a little mystified because of what happened right here in Cleveland Ward 1. We know the story. It was a sunny day on June 20th, 2018. It was about 80 degrees outside. And at about 7:15, there were sirens and alarms that were going out that actually caused a lot of people in Cleveland Ward 1 to come out of their comfort zone to understand what was going on. Well, it was very unfortunate that we found out that a 9-year-old baby had been killed by gunfire. Nobody really understood what happened until a couple of days later. We found that there were 7 young men who decided to tote guns back and forth in this neighborhood and shoot as though it was the Wild Wild West. And because of that, it's very unfortunate that a 9-year-old baby was killed by gunfire. So we're out here because the Black Women Commission of Cuyahoga County, we wanted to show some type of honor for the family. And what we proposed during that time was that we wanted to see a secondary signage named Saniya Nicholson Way, because we wanted to make sure 2 things. We wanted to make sure that the city of Cleveland and the community here would actually remember Saniya and give the baby the honor and the respect that she deserves. On top of that, we wanted to provide some type of healing for the family. And number 2, what it would do, it would remind the community and young people why they cannot pick up guns. It's like, put them down. But you don't have to put down a gun if you don't pick it up. And if they never would have picked up a gun, if they would have just gone back and fight like this, the way we used to fight in the old days, we wouldn't be out here walking, talking about we want a secondary signage for Saniya Nicholson. We're only out here because young people thought that it was okay to handle their disputes in such a manner that caused harm to a family, a community, and an untimely death of one of our babies. And when I say our baby, she was our baby because this was a baby from the community and it should have never had happened. So we're out here simply because for some reason the council person, Mr. Joe Jones, felt as though this baby is not worthy of the secondary signage. So what did we do? As the Black Women Commission of Cuyahoga County, we actually submitted a proposal to the city of Cleveland and Mr. Joe Jones, pleading with them to put up a secondary signage for the baby, or now we're requesting a statue. So if you can't give her a sign, put up a statue. But according to Mr. Jones actually sent a letter to the supporters and this report telling them that the residents of Cloverside actually voted the measure down. Well, we beg to differ because when we walked Cloverside, the residents of Cloverside told us and signed a petition saying that they didn't have a problem with the secondary signage, which simply means that somebody is not telling the truth. And on our end, we're definitely telling the truth that the residents wanted it as well as the business owners wanted it. So what we had to do, we actually had to file a claim over in Columbus with the Court of Claims. And we're asking the court now to weigh in on the decision. And what we found out was what, Kim, when we filed with the Court of Claims?
There is no ordinance. There is no ordinance for secondary street signage.
And that meaning that there is no ordinance, law, or anything that allows or does not allow for secondary signage. Is that what you're saying?
Yes.
That
Okay.
is correct. We actually got a letter from the law director of the city of Cleveland that actually told us, on this form here you see this, Kimberly F. Brown, requester, city of Cleveland, is the respondent. The law director is Barbara Langharry, and the counsel who's representing the city is attorney Elizabeth N. Crook. And it clearly says that the city has not created a policy or enacted an ordinance that evaluates and determines requests for secondary street naming, which simply means if there is no legal authority or an ordinance or a policy on how to get a secondary signage, how is it that one gets it? So our thought is this: do they just give the signs to pastors? Because Pastor Cabinets has a secondary signage. So why does he have one? I don't get it. When we look at secondary signage, we know that there are a lot of politicians who have a secondary signage. Former state rep Michael DeBose has a secondary signage. Why? Because Kimberly F. Brown walked every single home on Holly Hill, and the residents said yes. We know that former state rep Vermel Whalen has a secondary signage. Why does she have one? We have no idea. But here's the one that really gets me. Robert Goodwin. Do you know who he is?
Facebook murder on Facebook. He got murdered on Facebook.
Absolutely. And he was murdered by the so-called Facebook.
Wasn't that like on Easter Sunday that happened?
That was like on Easter Sunday.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And basically what happened, former councilperson Jeffrey Johnson introduced this piece of legislation. It was called an emergency ordinance, petitioned council to get a secondary signage. And their process is very simple. The council person, and this is an unwritten rule, so we want to make this very clear, which simply means it's not even legal, because if it's not in black and white, it ought not be happening. But basically, what the council person did, he submitted an emergency ordinance, and he took it to his co-workers, his city council members, and he introduced this piece in front of city council. And as long as 2/3 of city council members agreed, that sign went up. So the question becomes, why didn't councilperson Joe Jones introduce this piece of legislation, this emergency ordinance, to the city of Cleveland council people? Well, I'll tell you why. We went down to city council one day. This is when councilperson Joe Jones was supposed to introduce this piece. Well, this is what he told Margaret Patterson, who's one of the members of the Black Women Commission of Cuyahoga County. When she asked Mr. Jones, aren't you going to introduce this piece of legislation? Mr. Jones told her, and keep in mind, she lives in Cleveland Ward 1. Who are you to even speak with me? You don't talk to me. So Margaret Patterson came back and told me, see, what Mr. Jones didn't know is that Kimberly F. Brown was on the other side of the room. So what I did, I carefully walked and I approached Mr. Jones. And as I was walking, he began to gather his belongings, and he appeared as though he was going to run out of the council meeting. So of course, being who I am, I followed him. And I said, Mr. Jones, aren't you going to introduce this emergency piece of legislation? He said, no. I said, why not? He said, because you ran against me when I was running for council person. I said to him, what does that have to do with the price of rice? Because had it been your daughter, that sign would have immediately gone up. Had it been your wife, who's a judge, that sign would have immediately gone up. So what I did after he said that, I began to follow him down the hall of city council. And to prove to you I'm not lying, is that city council has cameras right in the hall on the second floor. And all you have to do is submit a records request of the camera, and you would see Kimberly Brown swiftly walking, trying to find Joe Jones and talk to him and follow him and ask him, why, councilperson, why aren't you going to introduce this piece of legislation to city council? So basically what it told me is this: Mr. Jones is immature. He's extremely immature. And number two is simple, is that what he did was that he denied this family honest service. Because anytime that you put your personal feelings into a situation, then of course you're wrong. But more so, what happened is that, you know, as a council person, he should have given warmth and respect to this family. He should have made sure that anything this family wanted, that they got. But what he did, he was the one who did the pushback on the secondary signage. But I just don't blame Mr. Jones. I'm also going to fault Mayor Frank Jackson, because we also submitted the same proposal to Mayor Frank Jackson. And Mayor Frank Jackson has the authority to introduce an emergency ordinance and a piece of legislation just like the council people. So the question becomes today, who's responsible for little Saniya Nicholson not being respected in the city of Cleveland? If they don't want to sign, then put a statue up on this baby. If they don't want to sign, then what they can do, here's what they can do. The city of Cleveland can actually become very, very creative in their thought process. This here, and yes, this is a very, very dirty business district, because it's very unfortunate that our council person don't take care of the ward the way he should. But in lieu of that, because that's a whole nother issue, they can actually take this business district right here and call this Saniya Nicholson Business Way. And there's nothing wrong with it. So why are we out here? This is where we started as the Black Women Commission of Cuyahoga County. And here's what makes our organization different. We plan, connect, empower, improve. We're fully invested, which simply means this: when we start an issue, we don't stop until we get the results that we're looking for. So I don't know when this is going to happen, but trust and believe it's going to happen, because we are the Black Women Commission of Cuyahoga County.
If someone wants to become part of your commission, is there a way for them to get in contact with you so that they can become supportive in helping with all the issues that you are just, intent on resolving?
Absolutely. We have a Facebook page. It's called the Black Women Commission of Cuyahoga County, number one. We have a website, and it tells you exactly how to become a member. And the way we operate is this: we don't just take anybody because you want to be a member. This is not a tea and crumpet group, which simply means you're not going to see black tie affairs from us. But what you will do, you will see us on the street. You will see us doing the hard work. Kim is probably one of the best research analysts in Cuyahoga County. So whatever we need, we get it done. So we don't talk about it. We walk and we make sure we get the amicable resolves that we want. And how long do we get it? How long does it take? I have no idea. But when we start a process, we don't end it until we finish, because we are the Black Women Commission of Cuyahoga County. But they can also reach out to us at 440-479-2823, 440-479-2823. Black Women Commission. Plan, connect, empower, improve, fully invested. That's who we are.
Do you have an email address?
Yes, we have an email address. It's called the Black Women Commission at outlook.com. The Black Women Commission at outlook.com. Oh, and one more thing. We have a radio program as well. Oh yeah, we do. We're hot right now. They can catch us every Thursday morning at 11 a.m. on WOVU 95.9 FM. Every Thursday afternoon. Every Thursday at 11 a.m. And I'm going to tell you this, the issues we talk about is surely about the issues that affect every single African American woman in the state of Ohio. So who are we? Again, the Black Women Commission of Cuyahoga County. Plan, connect, empower, improve, fully invested. That's who we are. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Brown. We will be following you, chasing justice. Make sure that you connect with us and let us know when you're having your press conferences, when you're going to be going downtown. You are going downtown tomorrow, if I'm not mistaken.
We're actually going to go downtown and we're going to actually hand deliver this piece of a proposal of a legislation to Mayor Frank G. Jackson. At this point, we don't have to deal or talk to Mr. Joe Jones. We're going right to the top, because here again, if it's thus said the mayor, it's going to happen. So at this point, we're going to depend on Mayor Jackson to make this happen for this baby. Plus, it's simply the right thing to do. And always, we're going to make sure everything is right, because we always believe in righting the wrong. This is who we are. And by the way, we don't waver. So when we take a stand, we're with that stand, and we're going to make sure things happen. So this is who we are. Thank you very much.
And people could call City Hall at 216-664.
2561.
2561. I forgot. Remember, you're not 25 anymore, and you're looking forward to 61.
Right.
So 664-2561. Make sure you call and give support to this issue. Make sure that everyone knows what is happening here. Again, this is Kimberly Brown with
the Black Women Commission of Cuyahoga County and the Brown Report newspaper. I am the president. We look forward to having you join our organization. But understand this, we don't do tea and crumpets. We do the work on the ground like real activists are supposed to do. So we don't do bad acts. We do activism because we get results and we make things happen. That's who we are.
Thank you for being with Chasing Justice today.
Thank you very much.
And good luck.